Good day, everyone. Good day, ma'am. I'm Gamil F. Rose, and my topic is all about the needs and motivation theory. So, in general, the needs and motivation theory states that a person needs to be motivated in order to satisfy or acquire its own needs. So, these are the different theories inside the needs and motivation theory. So, let's start with the very famous one, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is proposed by Abraham Maslow. It is based on the assumption that people are motivated by the series of five universal needs, and these needs are ranked according to the order in which they influence the human behavior. So, this is the model of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It is in a triangular shape because it's in hierarchy or by rank, by level. And each level needs to be satisfied first in order to proceed to the next level. If a specific level is unsatisfied, we cannot go up or proceed to the next level. That is according to this theory. So this theory again has five universal needs, and these are the physiological, the safety, belongingness and love, esteem, and self-actualization. So let's begin with the first one, the physiological needs. So the physiological needs is our basic needs. We need these physiological needs in order to survive at it, and it is very important of all because we cannot go up with these needs. These needs is a very important because this will feed our stomach. It will feed our stomach. Example is the food, water, warmth, rest, and other basic needs that in order to survive. And if these physiological needs are satisfied, we can go up to the next level. And these are the safety needs. Because safety needs, this is the security, safety, and shelter. So if our physiological needs, the food or water, is satisfied, we can feel secure. We can feel the safetyness because our hunger is being sated. Hungriness is being sated. So after the safety needs, we we have the belongingness and love needs. So in safety needs, you have the employment or we have the job. So in order for us to survive, we need to collaborate, cooperate with or socialize with our colleagues and other people in order to survive and to have a job so that we can buy food. So if this belongingness and love needs is satisfied, we can feel the achievement or the accomplishments, and by that we can build our own self-esteem. We have the confidence, we have the feeling of being prestige, self-respect, and esteem of others. So this, if we satisfy this, we can go up to the last level, the highest level, the self-actualization. Actually, according to experts, no one, or for the record, there is no person that reached to this level, the self-actualization. So self-actualization is achieving one's full potential, including creative activities. So when you say self-actualization, self-realization is continuous self-development in the process of becoming all that a person is capable of doing everything, capable of acquiring everything. Because if we are in a self-actualization, We have a plenty of food, we have the water, we have the plenty of basic needs. We have the job, we have everyone, we have the friends, colleagues, intimate relationship and all, and we have confidence and self-esteem. So we can go up to the self-actualization. So in summary, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the basis of theories that try to explain job satisfaction. So example for that is a teacher. So a teacher has its own needs, and these needs to be satisfied. Aside from basic needs such as food, shelter, clothing, safety from physical harm, and social interaction, they also needs the recognition and appreciation of students, colleagues, and parents. So the second one is Alderfer's hierarchy of motivation needs. So it is proposed by Clayton Alderfer. So Clayton Alderfer reworked Maslow's need of hierarchy to align in more closely with empirical research. So Alderfer's theory is called as ERG theory. So ERG stands for existence, relatedness, and growth. So when you say existence, it refers to or concerned with the basic material existence requirements. So these are the physiological and the safety needs, are basic needs. So next is the relatedness. So relatedness refers to the desire that we have for maintaining interpersonal relationship that is similar to Maslow's social love need and external component of his growth of his STEAM need. So relatedness, if if we go back to the Maslow's hierarchy, this is the social needs and the self-esteem needs. So the last one is the growth. So growth, when you see growth, refers to the intrinsic desire for personal development, the intrinsic component of Maslow's esteem need and self-actualization. So Alderfer's theory, and the difference between Alderfer and Maslow's theory is that ERG theory demonstrates that more than one need may be operative at the same time. ERG does not assume a rigid hierarchy where a lower need must be substantially satisfied before we can move on. So in short, if Maslow's hierarchy by level or each level needs to be satisfied first in order to go to the next level, in Alderfer's theory, there is a lower substantial satisfied before we can move on. So there are some needs that not really satisfied, but even if a person is not really satisfied, he or she can go up to the next level. So that is their um that is the difference between the two theory. So in summary, ERG theory argues like Maslow that satisfied lower order needs leads to the desire to satisfy higher order needs. So in order, it states that lower need is the one who triggers a person to go up to the next or to the highest or to go up higher order needs. But multiple needs can be operating as motivator at the same time, and frustration is attempting to satisfy a higher need can result to regression or to a lower level need. So the next theory is the Hesberg's motivation theory model, or the two-factor theory. So this theory argues that there are two factors that an organization can adjust to influence the motivation in the workplace. And these are the following two factors: the motivator factor and the hygiene factor. So when you say motivator, it encourages the employees to work harder without without complaining. So the motivating factors or the motivator factors includes the achievement. So when you say achievement, a job must give an employee a sense of achievement. This will provide a proud feeling of having done something difficult but worthwhile. So it is an example of motivator factors. The second one is recognition. We become motivated when an employee was being recognized by his hard work. Next one is the work itself. When you say the work itself, the job itself must be interesting, varied, and provide enough of a challenge to keep an employee motivated. It is your passion. It is the field where you are comfortable with. And then the next factor for the motivator factors is the responsibility. Employees should own their work, that they should have themselves responsible for this completion and not feel as thought that they are being micromanaged. So that was the responsibility. It's their responsibility to work and to be motivated to work harder. And then the next one is the advancement. When you say advancement, promotion. So when you say promotion, you get to the next higher level. So you are motivated by that one. But being promoted, you are being motivated to work more harder. So the next one is the growth. So when you say the growth, it is the job should give an employees the opportunities to learn new skills, and this can happen either on the job or through more formal training. So those are the examples or the sub factors of the motivator factors. So again, when you say motivator factors, it is the positive satisfaction and motivation of an employee. It is where they become motivated. And when you say the next one, hygiene factor, it is the dissatisfaction and demotivation. So when you say demotivation, is the absence of factors that cause an employee to work less hard. So this won't encourage an employees to work harder, as I said earlier, but they will cause them to become unmotivated if they are not present. So example or the factors for the hygiene includes the company policies. So this should be fair and clear to every employee. They must also be equivalent to those of competitors. So when you say company policies, it applies to everyone. There are no biases. There are no biases that would make an employee, a normal employee, be unmotivated. So example, there is one policy, but this policy, if this person or this employee is close to his or her boss, it can also affect to everyone the unfair treatment of the policies. So the next one is the supervision. When you say supervision must be fair and appropriate. The employee should be given as much autonomy as is reasonable. So supervision with a manager or the leader. So it must be the treatment would be equal. There are no biases. Next one is relationships. So when you say relationships, there should be no tolerance for bullying and cliques. A healthy, amiable, and appropriate relationship should exist between peers, superiors, and subordinates. So when you say relationship in an work work and working environment, it should be harmonious. There are no bullying or there are no backbiting. But it is very common
in a workplace, where if this person is not or will not socialize with the other people or with his or her colleagues, they tend to bully or tend to backbite this person. So if this affects the person, if the person who is being bullied, it becomes his or her factor to become unmotivated to his or her work. Next is the work condition. So work conditions are the equipments and the working environment should be safe, fit to purpose, and hygienic. So work condition, there must be arranged and organized in all, from the things to be used, from the safetyness, securedness, and hygienic factors. And without this work conditions, maybe a person become less motivated to his or her work. The next one is the salary. So when you talk in the Philippine settings or in other places, salary is a very big issue or factor, because this is the most commonly the motivation of a person who is working. So the pay structure should be fair and reasonable. It should also be competitive with other organizations in the same industry. So example, a teacher. So a teacher, if his or her work is very um, masyadong mahaba or masyadong marami yung kanyang mga ginagawa, na there are some works that is not work related pero pinapagawa sa kanya. So and hindi siya computed in sa salary, so magiging less motivated siya. At meron ding iba na um, salary is too small for the work that is he or she working. Next is the status. So the organization should maintain the status of all employees within the organization. Performing meaningful work can provide a sense of status. So the next one is security. It is very important that employees feel that their job is secured and they are not under the constant threat of being laid off. So when you say security, they are being secured. All the benefits has been given to them. There are no limitations, or the company that they're working for give the proper 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 benefits or honorarium or pay. So that is the two-factor theory. Two-factor theory again has two factors: the hygiene factors and motivator factors. So when you say motivator factors, it is the positive satisfaction and motivations. And when you say hygiene factors, it is the dissatisfaction and demotivation. So according to Herzberg, the factors lead to job satisfaction are separate and distinct. Form form distinct and distinct form those that lead a job dissatisfaction. Therefore, a manager who seeks to eliminate factors that can create job dissatisfaction may bring about peace but not necessarily motivation. Next to the two-factor theory is the Bloom's expectancy. So the theory of Bloom's expectancy is a theory that stipulates that behavior is a product of choice that are available for to be prioritized. The idea is to derive satisfaction and minimize dissatisfaction in employees. So this idea is to maximize the satisfaction or the positive thinking of an employee for them to be more motivated. So individual factors such as personality and skills determines the performance. This theory also explains that performance, motivation, and effort are within an individual's motivation and variables such as valence, instrumentality, expectancy, verifies this. The higher the effort in work relates to the higher the performance. So the motivated the employee is, the higher his or her performance is. So Vroom's expectancy is proposed by Victor Vrooms. So according to him, it is the process of motivation, that individuals' motivation is affected by their expectation about the future. So here, Room says that here the expectancy is how much they believe by putting an effort into something they will be able to generate good efforts. So expectancy. So when you say instrumentality, it is how much they believe that generating good results will result in a reward. So when you generate a good result, it bounces back to a reward. And then the next one, if you multiply it another to the valence is it is that the motivation is affected by how much they value any reward associated with action. So what I've said earlier, in order for a person to be more motivated, it needs action, good results, and reward. So motivation, the reason to perform. So it is also important to note that rewards could be intrinsic or extrinsic. When you say extrinsic motivation, it is the external things such as money and promotion that makes you motivated. And when you say intrinsic motivation, it's within yourself. It is the internal things such as fulfillment and achievement. So that is Vroom's expectancy. So, to summary, Vroom's expectancy, in order for a person to be more motivated, expectations must be positive in the about the future. So we have the performance, the connection of activity and the goal, and the reward. So equals motivation. So next to Vroom's theory is the McClelland's theory of needs. So according to David McClelland, David McClelland is the one who proposed this theory. According to him, regardless of culture or gender, people are driven into three motives, and these are the achievement, affiliation, power. So achievement, when you say achievement, it is characterized by the wish to take responsibility for finding solutions to problems, master complex tasks, set goals, get feedback on level of success, and when you find the solution in it, you achieve something that you want, that you were that you really want, and then by that you are more motivated when you achieve a certain task. So next is affiliation. So when you say affiliation, your social relationship with your colleagues, that you work harmoniously and you cooperate with one another. So it is also characterized by the desire to belong, an enjoyment of teamwork, a concern about interpersonal relationship, and the need to reduce uncertainty. So when you have a happy workplace, a happy colleague, then you are more motivated to work. Next, the last one is the power. So when you say the power, characterized by the drive to control and influence others, a need to win arguments, and a need to prevail. According to McClelland, the presence of these motives or drives as an individual indicates a predisposition to behave in certain ways. Therefore, from a manager's perspective, recognizing which need is dominant in any particular individual affects a way in which that person can be motivated. So when you say power, you have the will to command other people or your colleagues or other employee, but in a good way. So, in summary, people with achievement motives are motivated by standards of excellence, delineated rules and responsibilities, and concrete, timely feedback. Thus, with affiliation, motives are motivated when they can accomplish things with people they know and trust. So, and the power motive is activated when people are allowed to have an impact, impress those in power, or beat competitors. So that is the McClelland's theory of need. So these three driving factors is really connected. When you have the achievement, then you work with your colleagues harmoniously, and by that you have the power to command them in a good way. So that is McClelland's theory of. So the theory of X and the theory of Y. So the proponent of this theory is Douglas MacGregor. So according to MacGregor, he observed that there are two diametrically opposing viewpoints of managers about their employee. One is the negative, called the theory of X, and the other is the positive, called the theory of Y. So motivation implies the act of stimulating or inspiring subordinates to pursue the desired course of action. So it is something that makes people act or behave in a particular manner. Based on the premises concerning human behavior, Professor Douglas MacArthur put this theory, the theory of X, that is conventional approach to motivation based on a negative assumption, and then the theory of Y, which is diametrically opposite to the theory X, which shows that modern and dynamic approach to individuals and relies on the assumption that are practically in nature. So let's start first with the theory of X. So the theory of X, or the negative impact to the employee. So it is a traditional model of motivation and management. It takes into consideration the pessimistic behavior of an average human being who is less ambitious and inherently lazy. And in this theory, authoritarian is being applied, where the managers closely monitor and supervise each employee. And the premises in which theory X relies are this: by nature, an individual is indolent and will avoid work to the extent possible. So if they use when you say authoritative, it means controlling one's member. So if you control an individual, the tendency would be they avoid work when you are not there. So the next one is: the average individual is unambitious, doesn't like responsibility, and prefers supervision. Next is: she is self-oriented and unconcerned about organizational objectives. The employee resists change and gives the highest priority to job security. Or he or she is not very clever and can easily be deceived. So by this premise that I've said earlier, it gives a really negative impact to the employee or the member. So on the basis of above assumptions, it is being concluded that the management is held responsible for organizing resources for the firm with the aim of economic gain. And then next, the management directs of efforts of the employees and motivate and control their actions to take them work as per the needs of organization. And then further, they must be monitored, persuaded, rewarded, and punished, or they will remain idle. So that is the theory of X. So when you see the theory of Y, it is democratic. So it is a modern approach on motivation. It uses a participative style of management and assumes that workforce is self-directed and enjoy the work assigned to them. In the assumptions of organizational objective. And then according to this theory, employees are the most precious asset of the company. So, and this, just like the theory of X, there are also assumptions of this theory. First is the employee usually like to work and are naturally like to play and rest. The performance of work is discretionary and provides a sense of fulfillment if meaningful. So he or she can deploy self-control and self-motivation in the pursuance of organizational objectives, and the rewards in relation to the achievement lead to commitment towards objective. So an average worker do not escape responsibility. He or she seeks it, and because the capabilities and the caliber of the employee are underutilized who possess unlimited potential. So they are very opposite. These two are very opposite theory. So based on the assumption that I've said earlier, it can be deduced that management is held responsible for arranging the resources with the aim of achieving economic and social ends. Further, the employees are not indolent by nature, and they behave so because of experience. Moreover, it is the management duty to create such an environment for the employees to help them achieve their goals. So when we talk about or compared about this theory, the theory of why, it is where the more um, easiest way to motivate one's individual. So, in fundamental, the distinction between two is first treating employees like children, which is this is the theory of X, and treating employees like and adults. So, in in um, in theory of X, there is a control. The authorization is dominant, or the authoritative treatment is dominant, while the theory of Y, it is where employees or the members are working freely according to their field and according to their wants. So that is the theory of X and Y. Goal setting theory. So the goal setting theory was proposed by Edwin Locke. He states that setting specific goals will improve a motivation, because with that specific goals, your motivation would be specific also. So the first, there are salient features of this theory. So first is specific goal fixes the needs of resources and efforts, because if you have a specific goal, the resources and efforts would be um, easily to easily to identify, because it's specific. What you need has been identified easily. Next is it increases performance. It increases performance because you are focused on one fixed goal. And if you're focused on do that one fixed goal, your performance would be high performance. Next is the difficult goals results high performance than easy job. It is because you have specific goals, so it would be easier also to the difficult task or difficult goals. Better feedback of results leads to better performance than lack of feedback. So if there's specific goals, the feedback must be also better. And if you have a better feedback, you can identify what is the lacking performance, or if there is no lacking performance of your specific goals to be more motivated. Next one is participation of employees in a goal has mixed result. So if in a workspace or in a workplace, the participation of an employee in a specific goals has mixed results because each employee has diverse motivator factors. So the next one is participation of setting goal, however, increases the acceptance of goal and involvements because you are focused on one fixed goal, you are focused on one specific goal, you have the you have the higher acceptance of goals and involvements. So the goal theory setting has also identified two factors that influences performance, and these are goal commitment and self-efficiency. So when you say goal commitment, goal setting theory presupposes that the individual is committed to the goal. This commitment depends on the following. First, these goals are made public or individual has an internal locus of control. And next is goals are self-set. So goal commitment is that you are committed to the goal. You are focused to that one goal no matter what happened or no matter what are the circumstances that may destroy the motivator or your motivation. Next is self-efficiency. When you see self-efficiency, it is your self-confidence that that is capable of performing tasks. So the person with high efficiency put an extra efforts when they faces challenge. In the case of low self-efficiency level, they will listen, lessen, or even abandon when meeting challenges. So that is the goal setting theory. Again, the goal setting theory, according to Locke, Edwin Locke, that to improve one's motivation, you need to set a fixed and specific goals in order for you to focus on one thing and no more extra uh, extra extra goals or wants that may destroy your perfect or one goal. So, reinforcement theory. So when you say reinforcement theory, it's the process of shaping behavior by controlling the consequences of the behavior. In reinforcement, theory is combination of rewards and punishment. Punishment used to reinforce desired behavior or extinguish unwanted behavior. Any behavior that elicits a consequences is called operant behavior because an individual operates in his or her environment. In short, reinforcement theory concentrates in the relationship between operant behavior that is associated with the consequences and sometimes referred to as operant conditioning. So when you say reinforcement motivation, you control the behavior of an individual or you are controlling your behavior according to your motivation. So there are methods on how to control one's behavior. First is the positive reinforcement. So when you say positive reinforcement, you have the positive response and an individual that shows a positive behavior and required behavior. So meaning positive reinforcement, if you have a positive feedback on his or her work, then the behavior of his performance would be better. For example, immediately praising an employee for coming in early for the job. So because you praise him, then every day she will come to work early.
This will increase the probability of outstanding behavior occurring again and again. So the reward is a positive reinforce, but not necessarily. If and only if the employee's behavior improves, reward can said to be positive reinforcer. Positive reinforcement stimulates occurrences of behavior, then it must be noted that more spontaneous is the giving of reward, the greater the enforcement of value it has. So positive reinforcement. You say positive in reinforcement again, it is giving a positive response or a positive feedback to an individual for a positive or better behavior in result. So that is the positive reinforcement. So there is another one, the negative reinforcement. When you say negative reinforcement, implies rewarding an employee by removing negative and desirable consequences. Both positive and negative reinforcement can be used for increasingly desirable behavior. So example to us teachers. So the negative reinforcement would be the um, being late of a student. So being late of a student, you may or may not, or if this has been stated the first day of the class that if late, it has a minus points. So if the student is late, then he will gain a minus points. By the next day, he will not do it again. He will come early for him or her not to get a minus points. So that is the negative reinforcement. Next is punishment. So when you say punishment, removing positive consequences to lower the probability of repeating undesirable behavior in the future. So in other words, punishment means applying an individual applying undesirable consequences for showing undesirable behavior. Example, suspending an employee for breaking the organizational rules. So because he break the rules or he is breaking the organizational rules, he or you suspended him. So punishment can be equalized by positive reinforcement from alternative source. So the next one method is extinction. When you say extinction, it implies the absence of reinforcements. In other words, extinction implies lowering the probability of undesired behavior by removing the reward for that kind of behavior. So example is that if an employee is no longer receives an appraisal or praise and admiration for his good work, he may feel that his behavior is generating no fruitful consequences. So extinction may unintentionally lower a desirable behavior. So this reinforcement theory has also implication because it explains in detail how an individual learns behavior. A manager who are making attempt to motivate the employee must ensure that they do not reward all employees simultaneously. They must tell the employees that they are not doing correct. They must tell the employees that they can achieve positive reinforcement. So that is the positive reinforcement theory. Equity theory. So equity theory, or also known as Adams equity theory. So it was proposed by Stacy Adam. So this theory states that an idea of an individual are motivated by fairness or equality or equity. In simple terms, equity theory states that if an individual identifies an inequity between themselves and a peer, they will adjust the work they do to make the situation fair in their eyes. As an example of this theory,
is if an employee learns that the peer doing exactly the same job as them is earning more money, then they may choose to do less work, or creating the or thus creating fairness in their eyes. So extrapolating from this, Adam's equity theory tells us that the higher an individual's perception of equity, then the more motivated they will be. So conversely, an individual will be demotivated if they perceive unfairness. So it is also according to this theory also that the level of motivation in an individual is related to his or her perception of equity and fairness practiced by the management or its leader. This theory also proposes that motivation high level employees motivation in the workplace can only be achieved when each employee perceives their treatment to be fair relative to others. So fairness. Employees will compare themselves to other groups both inside and outside of that organization. In doing so, they will compare the total of all inputs against the total of all outputs. If they perceive unfairness, then they will just adjust what I've said earlier to compensate. Working more or working less, depending on their situation, is positive or negative relative to the group or a person being compared. So recognizing the phrases employees use the equity theory is in play in the workplace can be a key step in creating a high performance team. So that's all my report about the needs and motivation theory. So thank you everyone for listening and have a good day.